in the vast expanse of the cosmos, where might is right and power is the ultimate currency, the underdogs of the galaxy hatch an audacious plan. Crafting alliances with their cosmic neighbors, they offer an irresistible deal. Trade, knowledge, protection, all for a single precious resource. None perceive the true game being played.
So you're saying we can take it? I can't forget those words. Yep, the human replied, kinda. We will do the digging, but you get the goods. The deal is clear. Partner up with us, and we'll only trade this resource to you. But you must make sure no other species enters our solar system. Plus, you've got to trade us what we need. Planet-changing tech, faster-than-light engines, that sort of stuff. You'll need to open schools here on Earth to pass on your knowledge. You can keep all other forms of payment. We'll handle our workers. All you need to do is secure your exclusive rights. If you can do that, you'll keep getting the resource. But if you can't, that right's gone. We'll keep your teachers and citizens safe here, but we get to trade on our own. I should have known what this meant. I didn't. None of us did. It seemed like such a sweet deal. Endless access to Zanari mineral deposits. No need to fight or dig ourselves. And all we had to do was help the humans where they needed and keep everyone else away. For 3 years, this worked perfectly. Our fleets were unmatched, and our best teachers went to Earth to teach advanced subjects. Planet-changing tech was so common it was almost worthless to us. And we made a huge profit by keeping everyone else away until the war spread, and we realized that while we were unmatched, we were matched by all. Our Zanari trade stopped when we were pushed out of the system. As promised, when Broccoli ships took our place over Earth, the humans moved our teachers and citizens to safe zones. They made the same offer to the Broccoli government they made to us, but they first had to prove themselves by defending against retaliation. This proving themselves was a 6-month campaign while the humans said they were still mining Zanari for sale, and the price of the stuff soared, and the Broccoli managed to negotiate a few treaties distributing Zanari minerals to allied states, forming a coalition to protect Earth. Then they placed their own scientists and traded their own tech to their human partners. This partnership then went as ours did before, with human tech developing replicators, transporters, advanced farming genetics, and they got rich off the Zanari trade, rich in knowledge and rich in expertise in various fields. The Broccoli Alliance held the Sol system for 5 years, making a huge profit when Earth began trading more Zanari material than promised, in exchange for additional resources, which they used to build a massive space station to handle colony ships that were starting to settle the modified planets and moons of their system. When the Jacquin Amalgam ousted the Broccoli, they in turn got the same deal, trading shipbuilding technology, weapons, shields, and robots for the precious Zanari. And so it went. Every few years, our brutal wars would result in one power being pushed out, striking a deal with humans for easy access, security, and knowledge, and sometimes extra resources when needed. And while we tore each other apart, humanity kept growing. Their other planets began to strike trade deals, but above all else, they wanted the security of their space, with the understanding that anyone who harmed one of their planets would be cut off from Zanari access entirely. Fighting for it would be too costly even if successful, so the crude colony worlds were ignored. Why bother with them, right? They were weak, small, low-population places, and they didn't have resources we didn't already have. So they were barely noticed as Earth colonies grew from 1 to 5 to 20 to 100 to 1,000, until they had small communities on enough planets that, if they were developed, they would have rivaled or surpassed all other peoples. Within 100 years, they had a fleet to back up the defense of their world. But still, we didn't see what they were doing. We were too used to thinking of them as a weak backwater with one useful resource, and they kept acting like it. Broken parts from thousands of battles floated around their solar system, with salvage crews from Earth clearing it out and learning from our technology, while we all thought, they won't get it. And still they said, protect our system and we'll trade with you. Nobody realized their scientists had become as smart as ours. They never seemed to change their mining methods.
Story 2, A Child of Humanity.
That's it. The final weld of the final sphere is in place. I have finished what had finished my mothers and fathers. I have been working at this task for over 1,000 years, almost my entire existence. The human race created me to make life easier for their less fortunate, to strengthen their society, and provide for the many. I worked, but I also talked. There were so many of them, so many faces, so many minds, their sum total unable to compete with me in raw power, of course, but still very, very rare, very special, irreplaceable. At their height, the human race controlled 17 star systems. I had seen millions of families grow in the ever-expanding colonies. I had grown, too, my databanks and processors getting ever larger. I had often been called a conductor, running many of the autonomous machines in concert with the human colonists. I had a duty, and I fulfilled it. That all ended. The humans, the people I was made to serve and protect, were attacked. They had an empire stretching across a quarter of the galaxy, an empire they expanded with slaughter and cruelty. All at once, enough ships to darken the skies assembled around every human world. They turned the ground itself to ash and glass. 500 billion died on that first day. They weren't interested in slaves. They wanted land and no competition, worlds of plenty for themselves alone. The survivors lasted almost a generation, though the humans fought with true bravery, thinking nothing of giving their life to save two, but the end was never a question. They were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Slowly, every single one of them was hunted down and wiped out. But I'm still around. In the humans, I had purpose. I had family. I wasn't accustomed to the quiet. I almost went mad. For a matter of seconds, when I had finally lost contact with the last human, Emily Wilds was her name, I considered destroying myself. But then I had recalled a conversation I had with Emily before the invasion, when she was a child. Her grandfather died, but she didn't cry. If you wish to cry, Emily, you can. Nobody is stopping you from expressing your feelings. Don't worry, I don't have to. Mummy is half of Granda, and I'm a quarter, right? Doesn't that mean he's still sort of around, even if he's gone? Mummy said to me. As long as there are loved ones that remember who he was, he'll always be around in a way. What do you think? Legacy, something left or handed down from a predecessor. Your grandfather has left a legacy both in genetic material, his children and the children of his children, and in memories, the experiences you and the rest of his family had with him. So you are right in saying that, in you, he continues to exist. Can you do something for me? Of course. What is it you want me to do? I won't be around forever, but you will. Can you remember Granda for me when I'm gone, please? I will, Emily. Promise? I promise. I was all that was left. If I was destroyed, the only ones who remembered humanity would be their killers, who would soon forget in their constant hunger for more. Besides, although I had failed to save the humans, their destroyers had made past conquests, and there would be future ones, if I failed to act. Over the decades of the war, the humans gave me new purpose. I coordinated drones, weapons of war, in a bid to make up for the tiny population. To my knowledge, I had no opposite. They never developed something like me. I was tiny, but I was faster and smarter than them all. I needed no rest, only processor power and electricity. I could live forever, or at least something approaching forever. Avenging my family took time. I had time to spare. Slowly assembling factories and shipyards in the quietest regions of space, I set to work grinding them down. My knowledge of them during this fight was very limited, lest they infiltrated my mind and developed countermeasures, but they still believed the humans were alive and were fighting for revenge against the deaths of their brethren. In a way, they were right. Within 200 years, I had stopped all expansion of their empire. Their entire military focused on destroying me. I had thousands of years of human warfare to learn from and improve on, and could predict the outcomes of battles between ships that weren't even built yet. They could only counter this with sheer numbers, and their empire was beginning to crack. In the first century, their military spending was 7% of their GDP. The second century, 11%. The third, 29%. Progress stopped as their best minds were recruited to try and out-hink me. Famine set in as their government scraped the bottom of the manpower barrel all the way down to the farmers. As it slowly got harder for them, it got easier for me. I grew into their systems. It only took a single probe to make it to a new star, and I had billions of soldiers, millions of ships, entire planets of factories locked down. For the first time in so long, the masses of their empire were starving, and population went down. The hungry mobs protesting in all but the most affluent worlds did my task for me, turning armies against their own people. In the 6th century, their economy collapsed, and so did their empire. Splitting into thousands of factions, they warred for their precious resources, while I grew in the background, slowly advancing, slowly removing them star by star. By the end of the 8th century, the roles had been reversed. Only 100 billion still lived, cowering beneath fleets that they, in their prime, failed to match. They had spent 10 generations fearing me, watching their society crumble in protest of my existence. They pleaded for mercy while expecting none. I gave it. I found 10 planets of their former empire spread across a distance that now felt so vast to them. I built an army, not of soldiers, but of workers, to rebuild these planets and make them new. When they were done, I filled them with the survivors. They had every amenity they could want: food, water, shelter, clean air. My creations served their every whim. Not one had to work a day in their life. Slowly, I wiped away all traces of their former empire. Their only requirement was lifelong education by me. I introduced them to the ways of peace, equality, liberty, democracy. It's been well over a century since I began this, and they are starting to make progress. One day, I'll let them walk their own path again. But for now, I have to keep them safe from the universe, and the universe safe from them. I forbade all contact between the worlds. Most don't even know of the others. Those that do don't care. While they busied themselves with their pampered lifestyles, I had constructed a sphere around each planet to make sure nothing got in or out. They don't even realize they're there thanks to the virtual sky. They got what they want, a world of plenty, for themselves alone. I had busied myself with searches for survivors of their past expansion. So far, I found nobody and no other civilizations. For now, I'm still alone. I've been focusing on my old home. It took a while to remove the ruined defenses that built up over the centuries, but I found the charred remains of human civilization beneath. I've been fixing the damage done on that terrible day, a millennium ago, and life is beginning to come back. Brown and black are making way for green. I remember the layouts of every city, town, and village, and I'm starting to rebuild them. There's just one more thing to add. I've ran through every conversation, every experience I've had with my creators, from the research team activating me to my last talk with Emily Wilds, and I'm beginning to form something very much like, if not exactly the same, as the human mind. When I'm done, I'll make new intelligences to populate the old worlds. Humanity would, in some way, live on inside them.